Hello and welcome to the 2022 regional finals for our Southwest region. Really excited to be here live from F1 in Schools HQ at our factory in Brighouse. In the studio today, joining me, we've got Amy, we've got Nelson, and we've got Lawrence. Quick wave from everybody. So let's check out what's in store for the show today. First of all, we're going to head off and meet the teams. Then we're going to grab a message of support from a teacher, Rob Shepherd. Then we're going to dive into the most exciting part of the show and the reason you are all here, the racing for the entry class first, and then the development class racing finally, with the professional class racing finishing off the regional show today. Before we do get started, we're going to fly across and check out what F1 in Schools is all about.
What is F1 in Schools?
F1 in Schools is a global STEM challenge, working with industry partners to provide an exciting and challenging educational experience. A group of 3 to 6 students form a team, think of a name, allocate job roles, and start to design their miniature Formula One car of the future. The teams follow a systematic engineering design process to manufacture and race their cars, making sure they comply with a comprehensive set of technical regulations. To do this, they use professional CAD software, like Autodesk Fusion 360, and manufacture their car components using CNC machines. Once the cars are painted and assembled, they take to the track to race. Powered by compressed gas along a 20-metre racetrack, the cars are capable of speeds over 75 km per hour. The racing is fast and exciting, but there is more to the challenge, as it inspires learning not only in STEM subjects, but wider skills including project management, marketing, teamwork, innovation, and communication. These wider skills are assessed by judges from education and industry. At competitions, the teams submit their cars and portfolios and also give a project presentation. F1 in Schools operates globally from ages 9 to 19, with teams taking part in school, regional, and national level competitions. With the winners progressing at each stage, only the very best make it through to the World Finals. F1 in Schools is a life-changing experience for all involved, with many success stories of competitors who've come through F1 in Schools and have gone on to achieve significant outcomes in their lives. For some, that means working in Formula One, where the experience of F1 in Schools serves as the ideal grounding for the challenges and demands of elite-level competition.
Well, what a great challenge it is, F1 in Schools, and you guys already know that because you're already taking part and you're here today, and you want to find out who you're going to be competing against today in our racing show. So let's head over and find out who you're going to be competing against today. So here we are in the Southwest region. We've got the entry class teams there, we've got our development class teams, and finally our 2 professional class teams. So a shortish region today, so we'll be able to fire through the racing and find out where you finish as quickly as possible. So let's head across now. Some of our teams have sent in introduction videos, so thank you for doing that. Let's take a look at our teams for today.
Hello, we're the Speed Demons.
Hello, we are Racing Chocolate.
Hello, we are Nebulon Racing.
We are Focus Racing.
Hello, we're Team Andromeda.
Wow, some absolutely fantastic videos there from our team, so creative. I love seeing that. I really, actually, we miss being in person. So, you know, we're happy to announce that our national final will be in person at Autosport International in January 22. And also, we've just opened up our registrations for the 2023 season, which is all going to be in person. We really miss the students though, don't we, Nelson?
Yes, we do. There's nothing like feeling the excitement and the energy of the students just waiting to race and press that trigger to see the cars go.
Fantastic stuff. So, before we do get to that racing, we're just going to get a few words of wisdom from Rob Shepherd from Scarborough UTC, whose team got on the podium last season at the World Finals, an absolutely outstanding achievement. So let's hear from Rob Shepherd now.
Hi, I'm Rob Shepherd, Director of Engineering at Scarborough UTC and the very proud teacher of the current UK National Champions, 2-time World Finalists, 2022 World Finals bronze medalists and winners of the PMI Award, SBA Avidity Racing. Where do I start? F1 in schools is truly life-changing. It improves the life chances of the students by raising their aspirations and confidence through the exposure this project gives them. It has helped our students attain academically, improve their attendance, and stay on in education into the sixth form, as well as developing their key skills in self-management, understanding, teamwork, communication, and resilience. As a teacher, F1 in schools has always been something I've competed in, right from my PGCE year. The excitement of that first regional finals in Birmingham still gives me goosebumps. It was how the project engaged and hooked the students, how they wanted to succeed and their desire to win that became addictive. It allowed us to develop industrial links and raising the profile of the school, STEM, engineering, and showing others and the students just what can be achieved. Ultimately, it's why we're all here. It's to be able to see our students thrive, develop, and gain so much more than they thought possible. It is away from the exam specifications and allows our students to really develop and gain so much more than they realise. Thank you for listening to me. Hopefully you can see just how passionate I am about F1 in schools, how much it gives the students taking part, and in the words of one of my world finalists, we do it because we love it. Good luck and see you on track soon.
Well, what a great video and some absolutely fantastic advice from Rob, and it's great to see how he's got F1 in schools running so successfully over at the Scarborough UTC. So if you know some friends who are in schools who don't do F1 in schools, make sure you get onto them to tell their teachers to get involved. It's such a fantastic challenge. So with us being live from a studio, and all the racing being live here in Brighouse, we've got the slightly different format for the racing, and Nelson's just going to talk you through how the racing works throughout this show. Nelson, over to you.
Thank you, Tom. Just to quickly explain, exactly like a live event, the teams will be doing 4 races. There are going to be 4 races, twice in each lane. The lowest team number will start in lane 1. And there's going to be a lane swap after the second race, and this is to allow the teams to race in both lanes. There's no reaction times, unfortunately, because we don't have you guys, so it's all automatic racing. All breakages are fixed by F1 in School staff. We do the best of our abilities to fix your cars, and most important, only the fastest compliant car can win.
Well, we are live and, you know, mistakes can happen, but thank you very much for that, Nelson. That was a great explanation for the actual racing. Just wanted to point out as well, as we are live, we are in a factory too, so if you hear lots of big bangs and sounds of machining and manufacturing, that's because our team are working hard to put together the machines and bits and pieces and tracks from our factory just down outside of this studio. So let's start heading over to our racing and find out what we've got in store. So we're going to start with our entry class teams, and you know, without further ado, Amy, would you like to introduce our first 2 teams?
Yeah, sure. The 2 teams that are going to be taking the track first are Need for Speed and the Speed Demons.
Wow, 2 really good-looking cars here, quite fun designs as well. It's nice to see that, and both from the same school as well. Lawrence, do you want to pull some stats out?
Well, we've got 2 really bright cars here, and something I think we'll notice about them when we go to the on-board shots is in fact that the Speed Demons have an incredibly tall car with quite a large frontal area. I think we might see that creating a bit of drag, perhaps, compared to the Need for Speed car, which is, in fact, a whole almost 30 millimetres shorter. But Speed Demons have the edge on weight, so it's very tricky to call this one.
Great stuff. Well, we're really excited here to check out the first race, so let's head out on track and find out what happens.
Right, so in lane 1, Need for Speed. In lane 2, Speed Demons. Let's see how they go.
And the Speed Demons take that one with a 1.675. Need for Speed close behind with a 1.852.
So maybe that weight has played a bit of an impact there for the Speed Demons getting that slightly faster time than the Need for Speed car. Well, we've got a track team out there today. It's Max and Amy who are running up and down, pulling the cars back and loading the canisters. So thank you very much to those guys. They make it happen lovely and sleek for us. So let's have a look. Yep, thumbs up. Let's get out on track for race number 2.
Right, car still in the same lane. I love the naughty McQueen look. Let's see how they go.
Ka-chow. Speed Demons taking that one with a 1.682. Need for Speed with a 1.909.
Love the references there. Guys, really, really cool. And yeah, a great designed car. And Amy, you loved your team identity and the design of your car and making it look good when you were competing. What was it about that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I just think it's really important for a team to have a really consistent and unique brand identity. So we know that Lawrence was a part of Centurion Racing, which had never really been a name that was in F1 in schools before them. So it was really important for them to have a unique name that stood out for them, and it was kind of only about like that team first. So yeah, I think brand identity is really important to every single team to make sure that they have consistent elements throughout the whole portfolio so that the judges, as soon as they see it, they know that it's yours.
Great stuff, thanks Amy. Well, so the cars have been switched over lanes for the first time. Let's head out on track and check out race number 3.
Race number 3 now with the teams in different lanes with Speed Demons in lane 1 and Need for Speed in lane 2.
Speed Demons winning that one again with a 1.684. Need for Speed with a 1.890.
Oh, great racing here. Great start to this class and 2 great cars. It's really great to see. Flying down the track, no breakages and getting those consistent times in. So we've just got a thumbs up out on track and we're ready for race number 4.
Ka-chow indeed, Amy. So let's see who's going to win race number 4.
And Speed Demons make it a full house with a 1.73, a little bit slower than before. Need for Speed with a 1.892.
Excellent racing, brilliant. So the next part of the show is to check out the leaderboard for the very first time. So let's see where our 2 teams are placing. So there's some bragging rights here for Speed Demons with that 1.675 and Need for Speed there with the 1.852. And we can see a little asterisk there next to Need for Speed's name. What does that mean, Nelson?
Well, it means that our scrutineering team has measured all of the cars to see if they are legal to be able to race. I mean, all cars are able to race. They're all going to do 4 races, but when you fail certain technical regulations, you may have an unfair advantage on track, something that can actually boost the performance of the car. So if you are failing one of those regulations, there is a consequence, and that may be missing out on the fastest car award and engineering award, but let's see.
Let's see, and you can find out what awards are given out tomorrow live on our award show. So make sure you get that in your diaries and you're watching tomorrow to find out how the awards are given out. So let's check out our next 2 teams, Amy.
And the next 2 entry cars that are going to be on track are going to be Infinite Myth and Racing Chocolate, making us all hungry.
Absolutely, and both from the same school again. So all 4 teams from the Mountbatten School. There's some major bragging rights up for grabs here from all of these teams, and I do believe that these are all 4 teams from our entry class for this region. So Lawrence, what can you pull out here?
So we've got a really interesting set of rear wings on the Racing Chocolate car. We can see they've actually got 3 tiers with this kind of spoiler on top and then these fins sticking out either side. So I'd be interested to see what the team was trying to achieve there. And in contrast, Infinite Myth have a larger single rear wing, but if we look at the lower profile of that, it's directing the air downwards. And I think they might be trying to counteract the weight of the gas canister here, because you have this, 60, 70 gram car here that's fairly equally balanced, but then we put the CO2 canister in the back and that weighs about 30 grams. So if you actually create a bit of lift at the back, you reduce that extra drag on the rear wheels. So I think that car might go quite well.
Well, let's find out then. Let's head out on track for race number 1.
Race number 1, in lane 1, Infinite Myth, and in lane 2, Racing Chocolate.
Infinite Myth posting a very quick time there with a 1.388. Racing Chocolate a little bit slower with a 1.987.
Oh, you were absolutely right there, Lawrence. Infinite Myth pulling out a great time from the entry class. A time that you might sometimes see as part of our development class, Lawrence?
Yeah, so at the end of this show, we'll get to see the full overall leaderboard, and you'll see those teams, entry and development class punching above their weight. And I really think this is a team that's done well and should be looking to advance into the development class next year.
Thanks, Lawrence. Great stuff. Well, let's head out on track and see how they perform in the next race.
Well, teams still in the same lane. I have to say, Amy, I've raced after the chocolate, but not seen a chocolate race, so really excited here.
And Infinite Myth winning that one again with a 1.402. Racing Chocolate running away from Nelson with a 1.854.
And I just noticed there, as the Racing Chocolate car was heading into the brushes, that one of the wings displaced a little bit. Does that cause a bit of an issue with breakages, Nelson?
Well, there's always some damage that can be considered to affect the performance of the car in the next race. I mean, if the students were here with us, if the team was here, they would have the chance to repair the cars. The F1 in Schools team is doing its absolute best to repair the cars, but they can always be after damage, especially if the teams don't prepare the cars to sustain the pressures of the deceleration and the official deceleration system. They may have a slight issue on performance on the next set of races. We'll see.
Thanks, Nelson. We will. Well, just while they're fixing the cars up and switching lanes, Nelson, what would happen if something broke off a car mid-race? Because we see there that something broke off the Racing Chocolate car after the race had finished. What happens if it happens mid-race?
Great question, Tom. So if a car has damage and loses, for example, a wing before it reaches the finish line, that is a DNF because the car has not finished complete in the end, and there's actually a penalty for that. If a car sustains damage after the finish line, so the teams can just fix the car with no penalty. If this was a live event, that it's not, so it's a special format, but when we come back, the teams will have 30 seconds to fix their car in order not to incur in any penalties. If they can't fix the car in 30 seconds, they will have up to 2 minutes with a 5-point penalty. So you see, the cars need to be prepared to quickly be fixed. So that's why some teams are even thinking in terms of detachable wings.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Nelson. Okay, well, I think everything's fixed. We've got a thumbs up from Amy out there on track. Let's check out race number 3.
So race number 3 with Racing Chocolate in lane 1 now and Infinite Myth in lane 2.
And Infinite Myth winning that one again with a 1.389. Racing Chocolate going a little bit quicker with a 1.801.
Wow, great times there. And Infinite Myth, they're posting 2 of their 3 times under 1.4 seconds. So really, really good stuff. And Racing Chocolate getting really consistent times, which is good to see. So well done again to both teams here. So we've got one more race of the entry class in this Southwest region. Let's find out what happens.
White chocolate, dark chocolate, it doesn't matter. It's racing in lane 1 and Infinite Myth in lane 2.
And Infinite Myth making it a full house with a 1.417. Racing Chocolate posting a 1.875.
Milk chocolate is my favourite, Nelson, with the occasional bit of white chocolate. I do like that too, I have to say. But great racing from both teams there, and great racing from everybody from the Mountbatten School. Let's find out where the bragging rights have gone. Let's check out the leaderboard. It's Infinite Myth. They've just pipped Speed Demons there into position number 1 with the 1.388, and then some really close times between the rest of the teams there. We've got Speed Demons, Racing Chocolate posting at 1.801, and Need for Speed there in 4th place. And 2 of the 4 teams under investigation. But remember, it's not just about the racing, so make sure you check out the award show tomorrow so you can see where all the awards are going. They're certainly going to Mountbatten School, but we just don't know where. Okay, let's move on now, and let's start checking out 2 of our development class teams. But before we do, Lawrence, would you like to tell us some of the main differences between the entry class and development cars?
Of course. So in both the entry and development class, teams have to use a standard wheel and axle and bushing, provided by F1 in Schools. So that, you know, for these lower levels where you're just at the start of secondary school, it means there's a bit less you have to work on. But between the 2 classes, in entry class, you're allowed to manufacture the car, you're allowed to hand carve it, you can CNC mill it from the F1 in Schools model block, or you can 3D print it. When you get to that development class, you've got to mill your body. So that's a little bit more work, but it means that the cars are manufactured with that bit more accuracy. And along with that, the minimum weight that the cars have to be goes down from 65 to 60 grams. So I think we should be expecting some fast times.
Great stuff. Well, let's find out. Amy, would you like to introduce the first 2 teams?
And the first two development cars that will be taking the track are Accelerate and Mantis Racing.
Great play on words there in the Accelerate team's name, and Mantis Racing as well. I like that name, and I like that orange stripe straight down the middle of the car there. Lawrence, would you like to pull some stats out for us?
Yeah, well, these cars are very similar in weight, so I think we'll be seeing this very close battle here. But concealed in this shadowy dark livery of the Accelerate car, they've got this the scoop in the bodywork between the front and rear wheels. They're obviously trying to just remove all the airflow oncoming at the wheels, reducing turbulence there. So I think maybe they'll have the aerodynamic edge, while Mantis are a slightly lighter car. So, you know, we must remember F equals MA. I'd expect them to be getting the faster start.
Great stuff. Well, an exciting race. Let's find out what happens in race 1.
Right, lane 1, Accelerate in lane 1 and Mantis Racing in lane 2.
Very evenly matched teams here, with Mantis Racing just taking it with a 1.327, Accelerate with a 1.383.
So we can see there 2 solid times, both under 1.4 seconds. Great work from both teams there. And it's about consistency, Nelson, because it's not just about racing, as we mentioned before in the entry class. What other elements make up part of the awards show?
Right, of course, it's not just about racing. Racing and building the car is just one of the parts of F1 in schools. But Amy and Lawrence had to prepare also a verbal presentation, some documents, some portfolios dedicated to marketing and enterprise and project management. So depending on the class that you're in, it will be a certain required set of documentation.
Brilliant stuff.
And just let me just mention, Tom, just regarding the stats of the car, just wanted to mention for the teams not to worry. If they see a car that it's on the screen underweight, it doesn't mean that the car is racing underweight. So the minimum weight for development class is 60 grams. If you by any chance see a car racing with 59, the car is going to take ballast on. So that's important to say that the majority of the regulations we cannot fix, so the car is going to have that point penalty and consequence. But in terms of weight, we do fix that one for every car to race at the legal limit.
And I think for every gram we add 2, am I right in saying that?
Yes, for every gram that it's under, we will add double that difference, yes.
So it's really important to remember to make sure that your cars are in weight and as close to the weight limit as possible. Let's head out on track then, check out what happens in race 2.
Race 2, with the team still in the same lanes, Accelerate in lane 1 and Mantis Racing in lane 2.
And Mantis Racing winning the second race with a 1.318, Accelerate with a 1.392.
Wow, again, some really fast times there, both keeping under that 1.4 barrier. It's a really great start to this region, so well done to both teams. Trying to keep things consistent in the timings is also important, Lawrence, because we don't just take the fastest car time, do we, when we're considering the racing?
No, exactly. So, you know, while it is what we see on the leaderboard after the races, you know, the team's ranks by that outright time, points are actually also attributed for the average of their second and third fastest times. So it's really important that your car doesn't deteriorate through breakages or through just wear that may cause it to get slower throughout.
Consistency is key. Right, let's head out on track and check out race number 3.
Race number 3, with Mantis Racing in lane 1 now and Accelerate in lane 2. Lights out!
And Accelerate winning that one with a 1.354. Mantis Racing possibly feeling the effects of the deterioration with a 1.516.
Yeah, really consistent there from Accelerate and Mantis Racing. Slightly slower, but let's see what they do in their 4th and final race of this pairing.
Final race, Mantis Racing, Accelerate.
And Mantis Racing are back feeling the effects of the 1.343, Accelerate with a 1.437.
Wow, some great racing from both teams there. Really exciting to see the start of the Development Cast leaderboard, so let's have a look. There we have it, Mantis Racing there with that 1.318 and Accelerate just very close behind there with a 1.354. So close, a really tight leaderboard, so it's going to take a lot for our teams to either pick that or get amongst it. But let's find out what the next two teams have, Amy.
So the next two that will be on track are Whistle Racing and Project Tempest.
Oh, and there's that black and green colour, Amy. We know you love that because that was the colours that your team competed in.
It was.
Right, Lawrence, do you want to pull some stats out for us?
Yeah, so I mean, Project Tempest have clearly got that attention to detail. To the 10th of a gram, they're on the minimum weight for the development class. And, you know, they've got a shiny car that the surface finish looks fantastic. But looking to their rear wing again, this has been a topic we've come back to at this region, we can see that they've got these little end plates on the side. And the reason for this is you generate vortices, you reduce drag at the ends of the wings. So perhaps we'll see that being a slightly less draggy car as well. The Whistle Racing car, it does have that lower profile, a lower rear wing, so you know that they're punching a smaller hole in the air. That could work for them too.
Two fairly light cars here, so let's find out what times they can post. Let's check out race number 1.
Race number 1 with Whistle Racing in lane 1 and lane 2 Project Tempest.
Project Tempest posting an incredibly quick time there with a 1.254. Whistle Racing not too far behind with a 1.377.
Two really good times, but you see Project Tempest there with a 1.254, clearly getting bang on the weight, has paid dividends for that first race for them. Well, let's find out how the teams do as we head out on track for race number 2.
Race number 2, still in the same lanes, Whistle Racing and Project Tempest.
And another quick time from Project Tempest with a 1.303. Whistle Racing getting a little bit closer to them with a 1.359.
Great racing again from the teams. I think now's a good time, Lawrence, just to point out the fact that Project Tempest have got a really shiny car, whilst Whistle Racing have got more of a matte effect on their car. And we see that a little bit in F1, don't we?
Yeah, so down the F1 grid, you can see a mixture of glossy and matte cars. I mean, most notably, we've got the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri cars that are matte. And Red Bull are really known for going for, you know, every single potential advantage, you know. As well as having that matte car, they're known for actually painting their sponsors on rather than having stickers, so it creates less of an effect on the aerodynamics. But the theory behind a matte finish is that you'll get this boundary layer that's energized, so the air sticks to it better, less flow separation, and yes, less drag essentially, with maybe that being a less strong effect with a glossy car. I mean, obviously, if there was a big advantage, every F1 team would have a matte car. So, you know, I don't know if it's a big thing, but, you know, we measure time by the thousandth of a second here. You're looking for any advantage.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Lawrence. So let's head out on track for race number 3.
Race number 3 with Project Tempest now in lane 1 and Whistle Racing in lane 2.
And it looks like Whistle Racing take that one with a 1.325. Project Tempest really close behind with a 1.330.
Closest race yet there from both teams. So both teams doing a really, really great job here, and Whistle Racing sort of building up as the races go, and Project Tempest slowing down a little bit since the first race, so maybe degrading a little bit as the races go along. Well, let's find out what happens in the 4th and final race of this pairing.
4th and final race, Project Tempest, Whistle Racing.
And I think Tom gave Whistle Racing some good luck there as they go quickest with a 1.298. Project Tempest posting a 1.317.
As Lawrence mentioned previously, getting consistent times is key, and I think both of those teams managed to get fairly consistent times through across all 4 races. Well, let's check out the leaderboard, see what's happened here. Looking for the teams in orange, so the teams who've just raced are always highlighted in orange. And Project Tempest, you can see there with their 1.254, the fastest time of any race in the development class so far. But they are flagged as under investigation, the only team in this class so far. With Whistle Racing, a clean bill of health with that 1.298. But again, it's a very congested board in terms of times and really, really close. And I think we've got 4 more teams left to go in this class, so let's check out the next 2 teams, Amy.
And our 3rd pairing taking the track are Nebulon Racing and Focus Racing.
And again, we've got 1 matte and 1 glossy car, so I wonder if that's going to have a major impact. Lawrence, do you want to pull any stats out of here?
Well, I mean, these cars, you can barely separate them in terms of mass, and we can actually see two very similar concepts in terms of the cars. I think the differentiator aerodynamically would be the side pods. So Nebulon's side pods actually come out much wider at the rear, and they're clearly trying to direct the air around the rear wheels, whereas the Focus Racing side pods actually cut back in, and I think they're wanting that flow to adhere to the surfaces and maybe tuck back in between the rear wheels. Two different concepts, we see a lot of both of them.
Okay, great stuff. Well, exciting times. Let's find out what happens in race number 1.
Now, race number 1, Nebulon Racing and Focus Racing.
And someone called Red Bull, it looks like the shiny car was quicker that time with a 1.294. Nebulon posting a 1.324.
Wow, 2 very great times again. This is a really competitive class from the Southwest region. It's really, really exciting stuff. So, without further ado, let's get out on track again. Let's see what happens in the second race.
Second race in the same lane, so Nebulon Racing in lane 1 and Focus Racing in lane 2.
And Focus Racing going a little bit quicker there with a 1.275. Nebulon posting a 1.316.
Great stuff again from these development class teams. Them speeds are great. Might be worth maybe just pausing for a second, Nelson, and just thanking Idium. What kind of things have that company done for us to get these live shows out?
Oh, Idium it's been great for all the technical support that they have been providing to make the shows happening. From all the interactivity that you can see on the show to making it go live. So John and Robin, you guys are superstars.
Thanks very much for that, Nelson. Right, let's head out on track for race number 3.
Race number 3, now in different lanes. Focus Racing in lane 1 and Nebulon Racing in lane 2.
And what a photo finish. Nebulon Racing taking that one with a 1.270. Focus Racing 6/1000ths behind with a 1.276.
Both teams posting incredibly fast times there. So exciting to see. It's a shame you're not here in person with us, but you know, hopefully you can come back in the professional class next season and get into a live show. Lawrence, can you explain maybe why the times are just getting a little bit faster as the races are going by?
Yeah, so, you know, as these cars raced for the first time, maybe their wheel systems are a bit tight within the car, and these systems, as they get spun up more and more, you know, they'll loosen up, less force required actually to get these cars going. You know, for example, some of these cars may never have run before. Like, I know it's something teams might choose to do. They might choose to run cars before they send them to us, but equally they might, you know, the cars may only be designed to survive these 4 races, so they may be sent here brand new. So, no, we can see them getting faster, but equally, if they do sustain damage, that can harm them.
Great stuff. Well, 2 fairly well-constructed cars then it must be. Let's check out the 4th and final race of this pairing.
Right, final race, Focus Racing, Nebulon Racing. Lights out!
And Focus Racing winning that one with a 1.291. Nebulon going a little bit slower with a 1.322.
Teams going back and forwards, winning each race there. Really, really exciting stuff. Well, let's see what that's done to our leaderboard. And there we have it, Nebulon just pipping it into second position with a 1.270. They've got a clean bill of health, so well done. As have Focus Racing, who got in just behind in third position with that 1.275. But just look at those times. Well done to all of those teams so far. I believe we've only got 1 team left to race. Let's find out who it is, Amy.
And our final solo racer for the development class is Atlantis Motorsport.
Wow, I like the design on that car. It looks electric to me. Lawrence, what can you pull out there?
So I think this is our first multi-tier front wing of the day. And this is, you know, when you have this long slope on the wing, you can actually get flow separation because you're asking the air to do too much. So when you have 2 layers, you actually let the air get in between and keep feeding the underside of the wing. So I think we'll see a very effective front wing here at reducing drag off the front of the front wheels. And we can also see that this team with quite a long car has still managed a low weight. So they've managed to, you know, spread these features out, keep nice, low, non-aggressive angles across the car to have a very slippery car.
Great stuff. Well, let's find out how Atlantis Motorsport does in race number 1.
Race number 1, Atlantis Motorsport. Now, it's important to say here, team, that it doesn't matter that the Motorsport is racing alone. They're not racing against another team, so it's not an elimination race. It's all about logging those 4 times. And the system is taking a little bit longer to give us the results just because he was waiting for a team to finish on the other lane.
Well, Atlantis finished very quickly with a 1.290.
Excellent stuff. It was worth the wait, wasn't it, that time? Great race there from Atlantis Motorsport. In terms of the intricate paint job that they've got on their car, Amy, how difficult is it to achieve those really, really intricate designs on the car?
It's very difficult. I mean, painting the car just one colour is hard enough because the F1 Schools model block is a really porous material, so you can unknowingly add so much weight to that car just trying to get a really smooth and sleek finish. So trying to do that with multiple elements, with lightning stripes or kind of like an ombre effect is really, really difficult. So well done to the teams for getting a good car together.
Well done, guys. Okay, so let's get out on track and check out race number 2.
Race number 2 with Atlantis Motorsport still in the same lane. Now the system is doing its calculations, just making sure there is no car in lane 2. A few more seconds.
And there we have it. Atlantis Motorsport posting a slightly slower time of 1.304. I think they can get quicker.
I think they can get quicker, but I do think that that was a really consistent time again. So that's 2 great times from Atlantis Motorsport, so well done. Wonder if they can break the 1.3 barrier again in their final 2 races. And I can see that Amy's just loading the canister now, switch lanes, and we are good to head out on track for race number 3.
Race number 3, now with Atlantis in lane 2. And just a word to say that Amy and Max have been superstars loading all of those cars and doing all of those races, Tom.
Absolutely, they must have a lot of steps on their step counters.
About 1 million, I believe.
Atlantis Motorsport breaking that 1.3 second barrier with a 1.294. So I think he gave them good luck there, Tom.
Some great times. That's a few teams I've given good luck. No doubt that'll change later in the region. Let's head out then on track now and let's see how Atlantis Motorsport finishes off the development class for us.
Race number 4, final race for Atlantis Motorsport. Just a few more seconds.
And there we have another great time from Atlantis Motorsport with a 1.312.
Excellent stuff from Atlantis Motorsport. Well done. Well, let's see where that's placed them in the final leaderboard for the development class. And there they are in 4th position. They are flagged as under investigation, but they got the time of a 1.290. And I have to say, and I've said it previously, those times are really compact, so well done. It's kudos to all 7 teams in our development class. You've done an absolutely fantastic job, and those times certainly suggest that you're all ready to move up into the professional class next season, so make sure you get registered and come back stronger next year. So before we head over to our professional class, we're actually just going to go over to Lawrence, who's going to share some knowledge with you that you might be able to bring forward into your next year's development. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, so as we've been going through the races, we've been seeing these little asterisks next to the team names showing that they're under investigation for breaking a technical regulation. And I'm just going to talk a bit about how that happens, why you should avoid it, and like processes you could implement in your team. So in terms of why you should avoid it, we see that those teams with the asterisks, they're no longer eligible for all the awards, which, you know, if you have been able to make such a fast car to go to the top of the leaderboard, it's a shame if like a small oversight prevents you from taking home those trophies. And the other thing is, you know, what makes the racing so exciting is the unpredictability. You know, the same with F1 in schools and real Formula One. But that does mean, you never know where the level is going to be set at each competition. But with the scrutineering, by submitting a legal car, you can guarantee you get all of those points in advance, which can really send you up that overall leaderboard and maybe towards a place at nationals or a world finals. So then if we look into the kind of process you might use when designing a car, this is a massive simplification, but you design your car, you test it to see if it's good. You might test different designs, different wings, different wheels to see which is the fastest, and so you bring the best car to the competition. And you analyse that just to compare those different designs. But what I'm suggesting is that every time you analyse a car, you need to make sure that that design is legal with the rules. And that's so important because so many of the rules relate to each other. You may change one thing, you think it's good, but it impacts something else. So I'd really encourage checking that. And then, you go around this cycle optimizing your car, making it as fast as you can, and then you get to making the car, the exciting part. So finally, something that I know we've seen a lot of at this year's regional finals is with the entry class, where you're allowed to 3D print your cars. A very common phenomena in 3D printing is shrinkage, because when the 3D printers lay that material down, it's melted. So when it actually cools, ready for you to put it on your car, it contracts. And that means that some of the chamber holes at the back have been too small a diameter for us to fit those canisters into. And especially with 3D printed materials often being not solid, that means material can't be removed either to make those chambers bigger. So I've got 3 suggestions as to how you can ensure those final manufactured cars match your design. Sorry, we're having technical issues in the studios right now. I'm evidently missing the magic touch here.
There we go.
So, the first is post-processing. With 3D printed cars, you can adjust the wall thickness that you select. So by making that thickness larger, that means if you get the pass and you see that that hole's a bit too small, you can use something like a ream to go in there and expand it, making sure it's just legal. So, second of all, you could make multiple test pieces from your 3D printer. You look at what size you make them in the design and what size they come out in real life. And then you work out that difference, and then you can make an offset in your design to account for the shrinkage. And then finally, something that I'm a real advocate for is leaving a tolerance to all of the rules, just because, when you machine things, they might not come out just as you design them. So perhaps, if you do go that millimetre over the minimum, it means that there's no chance you're going to be caught out.
Absolutely great advice. Thanks for that, Lawrence. It's really, really good. And well done for putting everything together there for all of our competitors. So make sure you take that advice on board if you're coming into the entry class next year, and also you follow that iterative cycle. And don't forget, that's something you can take into your design and technology or engineering work, as that iterative cycle is part of any design process, not just here at F1 in Schools. Anyway, let's move on to our next part of the show, the final part of the racing, the professional class. Amy, would you like to introduce our 2 teams?
So our 2 teams competing in the professional class are not Ferrari Scenario A, B, C or D. We've got Scenario 7 Racing and we've got Andromeda Racing.
Great stuff there, Amy. 2 really great looking cars with quite a lot of differences, but we'll talk about the differences between development and professional shortly. Lawrence, what can you pull out in terms of the stats?
Well, as you see, as we go to the professional class, the minimum weight is no longer 60 grams, and we see both of these cars coming in under that, above the minimum of 50 grams. I'm really enjoying the scenario design, because you can see this little square section at the front of the car, and it actually looks like there's that channel to get clear airflow through the centre of their car, reducing a bit of that frontal area that creates drag. From the Andromeda car, they've got this higher nose, but we've got these side pods that are very, very small, and they're directing the air between the rear wheels. Just another way of reducing that aerodynamic drag.
Great stuff, and again, we just noticed that these teams are both from the Crypt School, so bragging rights are up for grabs here again. So let's find out who can take them in race number 1.
Race number 1, in lane 1, Scenario 7 Racing and Andromeda Racing in lane 2.
Well, Scenario 1 through 6 obviously weren't that good, but Scenario 7 are with a 1.178. Andromeda really close behind with a 1.216.
Two really good times. And we mentioned there's some differences between development and professional class. Nelson, what's one of the main differences that potentially, apart from the weight, potentially has allowed those teams to go a bit faster?
Well, teams no longer have to be restricted to a no-go zone. So in development class, the no-go zone means that they cannot cut into a specific area. In professional class, it's all more flexible. They can design and build their own wheels. They can include bearings to make the car go faster. There's a virtual cargo, so that's basically a bit that needs to exist. But yeah, they can go all in their design and be very creative with the parts that they make.
Great stuff. We can see that both of these teams have been incredibly creative, and it's great to see. So let's head out on track and find out what happens in race number 2.
Race number 2 with the teams still in the same lanes.
And Scenario 7 posting another under 1.2 with a 1.182. Andromeda posting a 1.243.
Two excellently constructed cars getting incredibly consistent times there, and it's nice to see our teams, or Scenario 7, going under the 1.2 barrier. I wonder if Andromeda Racing can achieve that, or if it's just going to be a little bit too much for them in this season. So the lanes have been swapped. There's a thumbs up from Amy. Canisters are in. Let's head out on track for race number 3.
Race number 3 now with Andromeda Racing in lane 1 and Scenario 7 Racing in lane 2.
Well, that tunnel underneath Scenario 7's front wing is really helping them there with a very quick 1.135. Andromeda Racing going a little bit slower with a 1.337.
Kudos to both teams here, really posting some great times and consistent ones. And Scenario 7 posting a full set of the fastest times we've seen in this region so far. So well done to you guys. So there's only one more race of this region left. Let's find out who's going to take it.
Final race for the two teams. Who is going to take it?
And that's a full house for Scenario 7 with a 1.244. Andromeda Racing still in the 1.3s with a 1.338.
As Lawrence has previously mentioned, those consistent times are really important. So Andromeda Racing, don't be downbeat about that. Your times were incredibly consistent, so well done. And Scenario 7 there, just going above the 1.2 second barrier for the first time. Well, let's check out the leaderboard then between these two teams. We can see that Scenario 7 Racing has the bragging rights with that 1.135. Well done, an incredibly fast time. And Andromeda Racing there with an equally impressive time, a 1.216. Both under investigation, so who knows who's going to take the awards. We know that they're going back to the Crypt School, but where are they going to be going? One really nice feature that we've got now is the overall final leaderboard to see how your car compares to all of the classes. So let's just check out the final leaderboard. And here it is. There we go. So both of the professional classes teams at the top there, and funnily enough, all of the development classes following on, and finally the entry class teams at the bottom there. But you can see when you look at those times, there's a really, really close set of cars between position 2 and position 10. So well done for that real close middle section. But every single team there doing an absolutely fantastic job, so really, really well done. I think there's all that's left really for me to say is an absolutely massive well done and thank you to the students of each of the teams. You've done a sterling job. The cars were absolutely fantastic, and some of the creativity coming out of this region was unbelievable. And we do know that the portfolios have been judged and that there's some absolutely amazing work in your portfolios too, so really, really well done. So make sure you're here tomorrow for the live award shows to see where those awards are going. And also a massive thank you to your teachers. It's an incredibly hard job getting you all set up and ready to compete in each region. So well done to the teachers. Thank you for showing your support to F1 in Schools, and please do keep entering your teams into next season. And one last massive thank you from inside the studio. We've got Lawrence, thank you very much, Nelson and Amy, thank you, and finally from myself, Tom, thanks very much for coming and seeing your regional final for 2022, and we'll see you all tomorrow.